like to say that I'm very glad to be in Malaysia at the moment. I've been here for about nearly 4 months. Most of the time staying in Penang Island. At the moment, I've just arrived from there, staying at a hermitage on the top of a hill, a durian plantation. So I spend most of my time alone, speaking about 5 minutes a day, so I'm a bit rusty on talking to people. And I thought how fortunate everyone is to be born in Malaysia at this time, that it's such a beautiful country, so green, and seems like everyone's quite happy as things are at the moment. It's quite a prosperous nation. And I was wondering what to say to a crowd of happy people. Not always happy. It looks as though you're all happy. But like from a monk's point of view, I've seen over the years that people put on their best when they see a monk. So it's hard to judge. And about myself, I ordained about 12 years ago with Ajahn Sumedho. Spent about more or less 6 years with him. And travelled to Thailand, spent a couple of years in Thailand, about 3 years in Australia with Ajahn Jagaro, which some of you might remember, and then back to England and Italy. I've been all over the place. Now, I've kind of not officially split from the Sangha, but I'm doing a kind of sabbatical to see how life is living a more independent way. So at the moment I'm experimenting with just living alone, see what that's like, trying that as a path. So then I imagine that most of you would like to improve on your happiness, and this you might you may have investigated meditation. So that is one effective way of improving on what you already have, getting on higher levels and decreasing the suffering. But to talk about meditation to a group of people, a crowd of people, is it's difficult to get optimum results because you all have different problems which need different solutions, different remedies. You need different techniques. Ideally, the best thing to do would be for the teacher to sit down with each one of you one-to-one and to ask you what's the problem. Then there's a possibility of satisfying everybody, but at the moment we'll just have to take what you can. So I was wondering what to suggest with regards to meditation that you could all benefit. I thought maybe to speak something about metta meditation, which means loving kindness, because that is something that we can all develop No matter what kind of stage we're on at the moment. Also, I'd like to say something about meditation itself and life, which is not formal meditation. I can't hear. Okay, try and speak louder. So we have this thing, formal meditation, which is like when you sit down and with your back erect and you concentrate your mind on one object. You stay there for as long as possible. Okay, so okay, I'll get closer. I'll get closer to the microphone. So this formal meditation, where you have to sit still for a period of time with your particular object. That's like one of the essential means to make progress on a spiritual path. But that's just that's not all. You don't have to forget about the rest of the time when you're not sitting, because the rest of the time when you're not sitting is equally as important as when you're sitting. What I mean is this: if you don't get your kind of your life together and like to work on your morality and your generosity and the energy and other perfections. If you don't work on those, if you don't work on your behavior outside of meditation, then you'll see the effects of that in your meditation. Now, over the years, when I spoke to people about what kind of results they have, what benefits they have from their meditation, what I'm hearing a lot of is that what they're doing is just enduring the mistakes they made during the day through unskillful living. So to illustrate that it's like you have your sitting place, you come down to sit and you see what's going on in your mind. There's all kinds of pains and sufferings in the body, and you realise what you've done to experience all these. Then you get up off your cushion, go outside, walk down the road, and you see a brick lying on the road, and then you kick it like deliberately, and it hurts. And then you look at your watch and you say, oh, it's time for my sitting practice again. So you hobble back to your sitting seat and sit down, and you've got this pain in your foot, and it like pervades the whole body, and you wonder why you suffer so much like this. You look at your mind, and the mind is full of maybe guilt or hatred or anger, and the emotions are angry, and it's a very unpleasant time. And then you realise what you do, what you like realise cause and effect. So that's a period of sitting, which is about half an hour. One is just enduring the effects of what you've just done. And then what happens? You get up, go out, walk down the road, and you hit the same brick with your foot. Or maybe you don't hit that brick, you might hit something else and create another pain. Go back and do some more sitting and endure the kind of the effects your mistake. So that's what I mean by you've got to get your life outside of meditation. You've got to work on it till it's balanced, it's right, it's appropriate. Then one can see some results and success in one's sitting practice. So the Buddha spoke about the middle way. One way of looking at the middle way is balance. That to progress on the spiritual path, that you need to have a balanced life. And I like to, one way I like to look at problems is what kind of extreme am I in at the moment? Whereabouts am I imbalanced? Where are you imbalanced? Do you know what you're suffering greatly from? If you're living in any kind of extreme now, then you know that extreme leads on to other extremes. It's got to. You can't just live one extreme and then the rest of your life is perfect. One extreme conditions another, and another, and another. One person could be enduring 100 extremes at the same time, if possible, or more. So what I mean by extremes is too much or too little, not enough, not balanced. For some people, they work too hard. They put in 10-hour days, 12, 16-hour days. They get caught up in their business. What for, I don't know. They want more money, or they're just really into success. So that's an extreme, and after a while, if one doesn't catch the extreme quickly, then there's the danger of getting caught up in that one extreme. And let's say this person who works too much, he really wants to meditate, but he always complains that he's too tired. But he has a go anyway, he tries, and he finds that he's just falling asleep all the time. Overwork, or not enough work. Some people are not working at all, not putting any energy into their lives at all. And when it comes to meditation, it's the same. It's exactly the same. You can't suddenly snap your fingers and say, I'm going to be successful in meditation. Even though I've been very lazy during the day, I certainly am going to make some efforts now during meditation. But that kind of spurt of energy and inspiration won't last very long. It'll last a few minutes. Why? Because one hasn't generated the momentum during the day. If one has made a lot of energy efforts and stirred up a lot of energy during the day, then when it comes to meditation, you should still be riding on that wave that you've already gathered, generated that momentum. Eating too much, or drinking too much, sleeping too much, not sleeping enough, talking too much, not talking enough. Sometimes you should be talking. So it's what I'm saying is that do you know what extreme you're in? If you are in any extreme, what is it? And it should be pretty clear. It shouldn't need anybody to tell you what extreme you're in at the moment. But there are ways of deceiving ourselves that you say, well, I'm not in any extreme. So then maybe we need a second opinion, and that's where our teacher comes in as useful. Or our friends, to ask them what they think of our lives. Where do they think that we're going wrong? So what I like to say is that the most important thing at this point in time is to find out what extreme you're being blinded by or being dragged down by, and to work on that. It's like, what have you been neglecting for all these years? I certainly know what most of mine are. I'd like to admit that I've got weaknesses. Most of the monks I know have got weaknesses, but at least they know what these weaknesses are, and that's a pretty good start. So if you know what your weakness is, that thing which you've been neglecting all these years, you have to start putting attention on that. The reason why we haven't solved this problem yet is because we haven't put sufficient time, we haven't put sufficient attention or energy in that area. Ideally, if you can do it yourself, if you can help yourself to do it, then fine, but most of us, or some of us, might not be able to do it ourselves, so we need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't like to admit that we need help. Because maybe it's because of pride. We don't like to admit to other people that we're in trouble. It's really coming down low to ask somebody for their assistance, you might think. But you have to do whatever is necessary to get out of this thing that you're in. Even if it means getting on your knees. There's lots of organisations there, there's your friends, there's your teachers. You have to try every trick in the book to get out of it. Some people, they find they've got lots of extremes they have to work on. And they think, well, I've been working on these things for years now. I still haven't got it right. Still, I'm an angry person. Still I've got a lot of lust, or I'm still worrying about things, or I'm still lazy. I still talk too much. I still talk nonsense a lot of the time. I can't stop talking. But I've made an improvement over the years, but I still haven't got it right. And you can look at your mind, your emotions, and your body, and you think, I've spent 10 years doing this, and I've still got these weaknesses. Well, maybe that just serves you right, because you've neglected working in those areas for maybe lifetimes. And then you expect instant results. It's not possible for some people. The longer that you've neglected some areas, the longer you have to spend time working on that. So it's that's, it's cause and effect. It's exactly right. But you've got to pay the price. So sometimes you have to sweat blood to get it right. But earlier on, you might have heard, it could have been lifetimes ago, your teacher said, don't do that. If you do that, if you keep on doing that, you're going to have to pay for it. But then you think, just one more mouthful, it doesn't matter. Just another sweet, another piece of fruit. Or just another hour in front of the TV, or whatever it might be. But you've been warned, everyone's warned. But when you're into the sense, if you're into sense pleasures, you're really into them, then after a while you develop an immunity to what people are suggesting or warning you. So, if you're having to work hard on your problems, then that's just tough. You just got to keep going till it's over. But it's necessary. It's necessary to get balanced. So success in meditation, like if the Buddha would the way the Buddha speaks, he'd say, do good and refrain from doing evil and purify the mind. If you try to start purifying the mind without paying attention to what you do, whether like doing good or evil, then you'll see why the Buddha suggested first to refrain from doing evil and do good, then purify the mind. But that's not to say you shouldn't meditate. Just because you've got imbalances, you've got problems, and you're kicking that brick in the road, or you're kicking the wall, or you're doing some other damage to yourself, it doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't go back and sit. You see, when you go back and sit on your cushion, you really feel the effects of what you've just done. You can watch yourself burn. You can feel the pain in your foot after you've kicked that brick, and you experience it. If you're practicing rightly, you experience it so much, 100%, that possibly the next time you go out on the road, you'll be terrified of that brick. You will walk right to the side of it. But you know, when we're experiencing the effects of a life not well lived, then, like in meditation, then that pain, we find ways of not looking at it. Like, for example, if you've got a pain in your foot or in your knee, in meditation, you can find a way of not looking at that by thinking about some project, or thinking about the future, or what you're going to do tonight, or tomorrow morning, or counting how much money you have in the bank, or what you're going to say to your friends, getting into some fantasies. So as you're doing this, your attentions are off of the pain. So you've managed to do that. Some people, because they just couldn't stand the pain in the foot, so they have to have some kind of relief. So then after that, one goes out of the room and one kicks the brick again, because one one has forgotten about the effects of a painful thought. I was just thinking of trying how to lighten this up because it's pretty heavy. I don't know if you can take such heavy, direct talk like this. But as I say, the last talk I gave is about a year ago, so I've forgotten what it takes to give a good talk. So long as I think one thing is important, so long as you're not sleeping. If you're not sleeping or you're not like semi-conscious, then I'm succeeding in a way. But if I'm even better than that, then maybe I can distract you from thinking about something, about what you're going to do tonight. So maybe I'd like to say something about this meta-meditation. I don't want to be too specific and get into too many details because this could take a long time. So, but just enough for you to maybe try and inspire you to practice it, or to answer any questions you might have had about this particular practice. Now, what I want to talk about is not only just metta-meditation. Remember, it's called like loving kindness, or loving kindness meditation. I want to talk about something else, two other things which connect to it that other teachers miss out, which you might find helpful. And one is to practice mudita meditation, which is translated as joy, cultivating sympathetic joy, and also another meditation which you can use, and that is forgiveness meditation, which I've heard a lot of from teachers in America, which I've practiced myself, and I found it very, very useful. So, like, metta meditation is, you can divide it, there's two aspects of it. There's one is you're developing loving kindness towards sentient beings. But the other aspect to it is that you're developing something towards that which is not sentient being, that which is not alive, that which is not a person or an animal. For example, the thoughts in your mind. You can't wish a thought happiness. You can't wish a thought a break or a wall happiness. That's not in accordance with reality. So the other aspect is non-aversion. That is like metta. That is metta practice, non-aversion. So with metta, you always start with yourself. The most important person here, now, is yourself. You must work on yourself. Because if you neglect yourself, and turn towards others and try and help them, well, you might be in an imbalanced state. You might want to help others, but if you're in an imbalanced state, you probably do them more harm than good. So that's why we should work on ourselves sufficiently before we try to help others. So if you want to spread love, then you should love yourself. So then you work on yourself, you think kind thoughts to yourself. May I be happy? May I be free from suffering? May I be free from hatred? May I be free from guilt? Things like that. You can do this in a very mechanical way, if you like, but ideally you use these thoughts when you have those kind of problems, when you are guilty. May I be free from guilt. When you are angry, may I be free from anger. Or whatever problem you have. If you're dissatisfied, may I be free from dissatisfaction. May I be content. Some people, they try to develop this kind of love towards themselves, but they've done something wrong, in the past. And they think, I don't deserve any love. I don't deserve to love myself or wish myself well. For example, you might have had an argument with someone and you've hurt that person really badly. And it's like you can't forgive yourself for that. And when you practice this metta meditation, that thought comes up, that memory comes up. I did really badly with this friend of mine. I hurt that friend with my speech. So that's like a blockage. It's a hindrance. So that's when forgiveness meditation comes in. You have to bring up this memory, this event that was, and to forgive yourself for it, that it was a mistake, that it was something wrong, but you learn from your mistakes, don't you? If you didn't make mistakes, you wouldn't have any wisdom. So there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. So it's natural. Even if you make the same mistake over and over again, you still have to forgive yourself. As long as you're making effort, that is. If you're not making effort to put it right, then it's going to be harder to forgive yourself. But if you work on forgiveness meditation sufficiently, then it won't bother you. Then you can have success in having metta towards yourself. One thing I like to use is you think the thought, as you're forgiving yourself, you think the thought, have mercy on yourself. Don't keep hurting yourself so much with this memory, with guilt. Have mercy on yourself. Have mercy. Now, sometimes it's really difficult to generate love for yourself, but you find it quite easy to generate love for another person, such as your parents or your teacher or someone you live with. When you turn your attention to them and you think kind thoughts towards them, you get this wonderful feeling and you feel great. So, this is where, what you can do, you can take that feeling that you've developed for your friends and then you put it onto yourself. It's quickly, before it disappears. It's like grafting skin. And that works sometimes. First of all, you're looking at someone you really like, you respect, then quickly change the image and put it onto yourself. then if you have developed a sufficient amount of love for yourself, of some good quality, then you might be able to, you'd like to share it with others. And the next best thing to yourself in this meditation is your friends, or someone you really like and respect. So you think kind thoughts towards them. You could almost say anything, like, may that person have a nice day. May that person have no problems. And then when you've done that for some time and you have some success there, then you can maybe practice it on a neutral person, someone you don't really know so well. You're usually indifferent to. And then after that, then towards a person that you don't like so much, or maybe you really hate them, you can't stand them. And that's where forgiveness meditation comes in again, towards this person you don't like. You've managed to forgive yourself, then also try to forgive that person for what they've done to you. Have mercy on them. So people find it a lot of, like meditators, find a lot of trouble trying to generate love towards someone they don't like, because they keep remembering the damage that was done by that person. So that's where forgiveness meditation comes in useful. And then after that, if you still have some energy, then you try and share that love with everyone, all beings, all sentient beings. Now the other aspect of metta is non-aversion. Which is when you're in meditation, you can just practice that. Whatever comes up, whatever feeling you have, whatever perception, whatever thought you have, consciousness, whatever object whatever phenomena comes into view, you could just make it your practice of not being averse to that object. Like, for example, a bad memory comes up. Don't try and get away from it. Just stand still in your mind. Just be there without trying to get rid of it. And you can make that an entire practice for an hour or 2 hours every day. That you know there's nothing that will make you try and push it away. I can't think of anything else. Is there any questions about that, or metta, or anything else? Just it's like just another mind working on your problem. It's just some more thoughts about it, and but not necessarily the right answer. So to get the right answer to your question, I might have to sit with you for about half an hour talking to you, interrogating you. Forgiveness meditation is, I imagine that a lot of Christians suffer from guilt. If you was a Christian before, then you'd probably develop guilt a lot. So this guilt becomes a habit. So every time you do something wrong, you thrash yourself. So you make yourself feel bad. So this forgiveness meditation is like, it's stopping that habit. But if one keeps on making the same mistake, yet you don't make any effort to try and to stop doing that, then you're going to get a lot of guilt still. And forgiveness meditation might not work so well. It might not work at all. Because you know yourself that you're not making any effort. So it's like, for example, you put your hand in the fire. You keep on putting your hand in the fire. What happens? You're screaming. Inside, you're screaming at yourself. You're saying, what are you doing? You're stupid or something? Now that scream of anger or hatred will have to dissipate by itself, which could take a long time. You keep on going into that fire, putting that hand in the fire every single day, let's say. No amount of forgiveness meditation will help you. So you must be making some effort. So you minimize the guilt and the hatred, at least.
To me, actually, it is not forgiveness. Patience and understanding. We have to cultivate and train our mind by practicing patience and patience and patience, then understand. Without understanding, whatever method we practice, I don't think we will be able to gain any good result. Just now you heard Reverend mention metta or loving kindness radiate as your meditation. If you have not cultivated your metta or your loving kindness, how are you going to radiate? What are you going to radiate? What have you got in your mind to radiate? It is empty mind, shallow. Where is metta there? So you have to cultivate and develop and develop and develop. Then the mind becomes very energetic. After that, you can radiate. Then you can do wonderful things by radiating your metta to cure sicknesses and to support people who are in fear and difficulties by radiating. Even the animals also we can support by radiating this kind of metta. Simply we say, radiate your metta. We have got metta. We have got time for you to cultivate metta. All the while your mind are occupied with your business, your house affairs, your family affairs, and your income and your expenditure, your worldly affairs, your pleasure and your enjoyment. We have got time for that. When you come to the temple, you got a little bit of time to calm the mind as well as to forget all those things, to relax. So it must have time and understanding. Without understanding, I think you know very well, the Buddha started his mission with right understanding, samadhi. Without that, we cannot go further. Must have that understanding. If understanding is there, then we can practice patience and tolerance and kindness and compassion and metta and generosity and honesty and all the good qualities. We cannot train the mind by force, only through understanding. So, it is not actually forgiveness, there is nothing to forgive. Patience and understanding. Yes, anything else?
So joy is like working on yourself from another angle. It's like joy is looking at your good qualities when you're working on yourself. Or what I mean, essentially what joy is rejoicing in the good, in the wholesome. To concentrate on is our unwholesome qualities. We like to think, I don't need to work on my good qualities, so I don't have to think about them. I can forget them. So I can work, I should just put my attention on my unwholesome qualities, my unwholesome habits. And if you dwell too much on your unwholesome habits, then you don't like yourself very much. You think you're just no good. You're not worthy of any respect. So to balance this out, you might have to start rejoicing in the good qualities that you have, that you're not such an evil person as you think you are. So that might help you to have more respect for yourself and to get rid of this thought that you don't deserve to be happy. Sometimes when meditations on metta aren't working so well, then you can practice meditations on joy and see if that works any better for you. You notice sometimes people who are just like bright lights, when they walk into the room, they just lighten the whole room. When they speak, they always speak positively about the good things. Now those people have practiced more mudita meditation than metta. Whereas you see other people are very, very happy, but they don't have so much of that brightness and joy that the mudita people might have. So, that's what I had to say about that. Would you like to say something?
Yes, speak. Joy or rejoicing, what is it actually? Joy. So what is your answer to this? Yes, ma'am. It is rejoicing or joy? Yes. Now let us take vitakka, vichara, piti. Piti is the one when you practice this jhana meditation, we go through these stages. Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. These 5 stages. Example, for us to understand this very easily. Vitakka, at the initial stage in our mind, when a bee enter into a flower, that is the initial stage of harmony. Vichara, when that bee is moving around this flower in searching the honey, that is the stage of the mind by taking to get an object in searching. Then comes the vichapiti, joy. Got the object, had it, then satisfied. That is joy. But this should not be emotional. If it is emotional, no religious value. We gain this joy when we want to experience some sort of pleasure, worldly material gain. Also we use the word joy, but that has nothing to do with this. This is the development of the mental stages, step by step, until we complete this vitakka, vichara, priti. Then sukha, satisfaction. After gaining what that we wanted, satisfied, go out. Got what it wanted. So the mind goes on searching, investigating the object to calm the mind, then gain satisfaction. Then ekagrata, tranquility, one-pointedness, mindfulness, calmness of the mind. See, step by step, how the mental stages develop up to that stage. So this joy, what we interpret here, is not emotional. It is the confidence that we gain by calming the tension, the greed and anxieties of the mind for worldly material. Searching the calmness and what we call tranquility, that kind of joy. Yes, anything else here? The real date? This coming Sunday. How this Chembing was originated at the beginning? Any idea? So what do people do on that day? They visit the grave, isn't it? And clean and do some offerings and pray. Remember their departed. Or also giving some dana or charity in the name of the departed ones. How this system was originated? Or is there any meaning? That is only from the Buddhist point of view. Others never use the word transference of merit. They have no such thing. How this method was originated? This is our traditional practice for thousands of years. We feel it is our bounden duty to do that. Otherwise we feel some sort of uneasiness or some sort of insecurity feeling. I think before all these religions come into existence, people had some experience, pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Then dreams
sicknesses, misfortune. After that they started to think, maybe due to our departed so and so, so and so. Because the belief was that each and every person who departs from this world will be born or remain as a spirit. No rebirth at that time, no such idea. Every human being who dies after his or her death become a spirit. This was the belief they had thousands of years ago. Then they also had this suspicion. These spirits can disturb us. To avoid their disturbances, they started to do some offerings and worshipping and praying. On the other hand, they also experienced some good news through the influence of their departed ones. Certain information in dreams. Even today, many people experience this. Their departed father or mother or brothers or sisters, those who have some mental relationship, not only blood relationship, mental relationship. Communication is still functioning. So when some people are in trouble, when they are suffering from certain sicknesses, they get some information from their departed. We know certain cases, certain medicines were prescribed by the departed one when they were suffering from some sicknesses. When they are in trouble and was thinking what to do, they get some ideas or information or advice from their departed. So, some sort of favoritism. That is how this worshipping and praying and offering to departed persons to remember them. The people slowly develop. Then religions come into existence. Different religion gives different interpretation or advices. Some religious groups tell, we belong to God. God is responsible for us. There is no meaning of worshipping or praying or offering to them. So we must pray to God. He is responsible. Then develop this. Praying for our departed one to God. Asking the God to forgive their sins and send them to heaven and all sort of favors. And there was another system, praying to the king of hell, praying and offering, asking him to release our so-and-so. If he is in hell, please release him. So they do some offering and praying to the king of hell. But still there are some people who pray to Mara, to devil, Satan, and the king of hell. Then many others believe they need some food, clothing, and certain requisites for their satisfaction. Then started to offer was spending any amount of money for their satisfaction. I think recently they started to go and consult a medium, not long ago, and where they are, our departed one. Then they shake their head little bit and say something. So he is worrying because he has no wristwatch and he has no fountain pen, he has no television. Say something, then after that they come and do some offerings because they believe what these people say. When the Buddha appeared 2500 years ago, he has rejected all these beliefs and practices. What people had been practicing for a long period. He said, by praying to a God, you cannot release your departed person if that person is in hell or in suffering state. Even by praying to Buddha or anybody else also you cannot do that. By offering food and clothing and all the requisite also you cannot release them. By worshipping and praying to them also you cannot release them. By crying and worrying and lamenting also you cannot release them. Then he said, you had to do some service to others to release their suffering who are living in the name of your departed. By doing that, you gain some merits. Because you have not wasted anything and you have not done any harm to anybody, but you have done meritorious deeds. These merits you can transfer. First you create the idea. After that you utter some word. The mental vibration and the sound vibration both work. Then all those departed ones are not in a position to receive the merit. Now that is the problem. Only certain groups who really need our support. Now take for instance, one person after his or her death, rebirth takes place as an animal or a dog. Do you think we can transfer the merits to that animal? Cannot. Because that animal has no absorbing, receiving, no receiving set. If that person is in hell, so-called hell, do you think simply by transferring merits or praying to God or Buddha or anybody, you can release that person from hell? If you can do that, those who are sentenced to Udu jail, you can release them by praying and worshipping from here. It doesn't work. They have to spend their period. How many years or life in prison or whatever it may be. Is exactly. Hell is like that. And those who are born as human beings, they have their enough merits. Otherwise, they never get the chance to become human beings. So they do not depend on others' merits. Those who are born as Devas or Brahmas also never depend on our merits. They had more than enough merits to enjoy their life. Then you can ask, in that case, why do we invite the devas to share the merit? That is another aspect. The Buddha's advice also there. He says, Divacha rattocha haranti ye baling tasmahi nerak kata appamatta. Ratana Sutta. So those devotees day and night who perform various kind of religious and performances, remember those devas and invite them to share the happiness that they gain by performing this meritorious deed. Then the devas will be happy to know that we remember them. Whether they need or not. Now take for instance, when you organize a dinner or a lunch, you invite a multi-millionaire to come and join with you. Are you going to invite him just because he has no food to eat? He's a multi-millionaire. But he appreciates your invitation. He come and join with you and appreciate. Exactly like that. Now you can understand why we invite the devas. But the departed one, there are two groups. Fortunate and unfortunate. Unfortunate one who are waiting to receive the merit. I always mention this. They are just like a motor car on federal highway, stop halfway without petrol, waiting to receive the petrol. When you transfer the merit, that is pouring petrol into the motor car, then start the engine and again go from there. Transference of merit to departed ones, we help them, we push them. They are standing there. And the fortunate ones, they have some worldly powers, better than us. When we remember them, when we invite them to share the merits and happiness, they will be very happy and we develop our communication, relationship. When we are in trouble, they keep an eye on us. When we are in trouble, we get their support to get rid of this problem. That is the only thing they can do. Devas or God cannot give us knowledge or wisdom or salvation or cannot send us to heaven or nirvana, impossible from the Buddhist point of view. But they can support us when we are in trouble. Let us take the Buddha. You have heard this story more than 100 times. Pardon? First time, okay. It's very important. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Not so. Yeah. 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 No receiving form. Yeah. Because, this is a very good question. I can tell you, a few years ago, a professor from America suddenly entered into my office and told me, I am on my way to airport. I have only half an hour. I have read a lot of Buddhist books. I appreciate Buddhism. There is one thing that I cannot understand. What is that? I believe rebirth also. But I cannot understand how a human being become an animal after his death. And again, how that animal come back to human life? That I cannot understand. I discussed this matter with many Buddhist scholars. I could not get the correct answer for me to satisfy. Recently I went to Bangkok. I asked this question. They gave me the answer, but still I cannot satisfy. I told them very frankly, I cannot satisfy. When they come to know that I am going to visit Malaysia, they advise me. If you go to Malaysia, we advise you to go to Big Hill Buddhist temple. I am sure you can get the answer. That is why I came here, but I got only half an hour. Then I asked, what is your question? This is the question. I said, this is very simple. What? How many years I have been struggling to get the answer? You see, very simple. Yes. My table lamp. On the table, I had my table lamp. I switch on. You see the bulb. Here, 60 watt. When I remove this one and put 5 candle power bulb, switch on. The dim light. Again I change this one and 100 watt. Bright. Now, for the whole room. Brightness is more than enough. The same current, same electricity, same switch, same wire. We did not change anything. We change only bulb. Outward manifestation, the bulb. That dog is the outward manifestation, just like that candle, 5 candle power bulb. Can absorb only little bit, although electricity is there but cannot absorb. At stage I got the answer, he told me. So I did not refer to any books. Use little bit of common sense. Now I know. The karmic energy is there, but cannot absorb into that animal mind. That is why we regard them as unfortunate living beings. Now I, at loss, I don't know what I have been talking, because of you interrupted me. I was talking something, I don't know what it is. What did I mention just now? Reverend, can you remember? Pardon? That's right, transference of man, Buddha. It's very interesting. Long ago, we don't know how many previous births, when he was traveling with his old mother by a sailing boat to another island, very far away. Halfway, the boat was capsized, overturned due to storm, and the mother and all the others into the sea. He was struggling by holding his mother and keeping the shoulder and swimming and swimming and swimming, but cannot see the land. Which direction he cannot understand. But he did not give up hope. Struggling and swimming and swimming, cannot see. Again turn this way and swimming, cannot see the land. Again turn this way, cannot. When he was struggling in this way, he heard a voice directed for him to swim to this way. That's all. Then, after swimming for a little bit distance, he saw the land. So happy, landed. Then started to think. Today I could manage to save my mother because of my effort. Why not I develop this further and further and further? Not only to save my mother, to save the whole mankind. Not only mankind, all the living being. To become a person like the Buddha. The very day that he implanted that idea in his mind, that he wanted to become. Now the question is, who gave this signal? Who created this voice? One of the devas who was in his family during his previous birth, relationship. I told you just now, mental relationship is still working, although physically we are separated. So when we invite them to share the merits, they develop this relationship. Then they keep an eye on. When we are in trouble like this, they give their helping hand. That is why it is very important for us to remember our departed person, do something to make them happy, or if not, to transfer the marriage, to release them. Again, in the Buddha's teaching, he says, as human beings, we have 10 kinds of Manushya Dharma. Manushya Dharma, human qualities or humane qualities, virtues. Amongst those 10, these two. Remember your departed, remember devas. Invite them to share the merit. This is very important for your living in this world, as well as to support them. As human beings, we can do that. But other living beings have no such ideas. Only human beings. They have no such idea that they have to remember the departed one. This is some sort of the extraordinary characteristics in our human mentality. To remember, even after they are dead, also we remember them. Others have no such idea. Therefore, you had to perform this in respectable way, reasonable way, without wasting for unnecessary things, by helping and supporting others, doing some services to others, or practicing charity in the name of your departed ones. Then it will become a noble religious service. Whatever name you use with the All Souls Day or Chembing, the idea from the Buddhist point of view, the significance is this. Yes, 9:30. I think enough sharing of merits.